What it is. What's up? Happy Monday, guys. Welcome to the live. Today we're going to be having a very interesting discussion. A lot of stuff happened over the weekend, y'all. I should have been live over the weekend with everything that went down. We're going to be talking about comedian Tony Hinchcliffe, who was recently at a Trump rally doing a little bit of comedy, and I guess things got out of hand. He told a joke that the left certainly doesn't like that Kamala's reposted. Apparently, he made fun of Puerto Ricans. Now, is this going to change the Puerto Rican vote for Donald Trump? We shall see. We're going to talk about this now infamous joke and decide whether or not we find it offensive. In other news, Leonardo DiCaprio has come out and endorsed Kamala Harris. So is J-Lo, and so is Beyonce. What do these celebrities have in common? We're gonna talk about it, but it starts with P and it ends with Diddy. Okay, so we'll be discussing that in just a moment. Also, Megyn Kelly killed it on Bill Maher. She was one of Bill Maher's guests, and she actually spoke about some of the most important issues I think our country is facing right now, and she took him to task on his opinion on it. He held her feet to the fire, but she held her own. As always, we have Taylor in Nashville.
Hey, yeah, happy Monday, everybody. Hope everyone had a great weekend and stayed safe from any offensive jokes or ballot boxes being lit on fire or whatever else is going on out there. And we do have a lot to get into, so let's go for it.
Yes, it's been a rough time out there, guys, if you're following the news cycle. So let's start off with comedian Tony Hinchcliffe. If you're not familiar with him, he hosts a very popular podcast known as Kill Tony, where comedians get together. They introduce new comedians. People sort of audition for them and show off their comedy style to a wide-ranging audience. Tony Hinchcliffe, you've probably also seen him, I believe he was in the Tom Brady roast that happened recently. He's a very abrasive comedian, I will say. I kind of liken him, I know comedians don't like being compared to one another, but sort of like an Andrew Schulz style comedian. If you are very sensitive or you don't like really brash, offensive jokes, he's probably not the comedian for you. But he was recently at the Madison Square Garden Trump rally in New York City, and he did some comedy. Now, we're gonna watch a small clip so that you can get a feel for what his comedy style is, and then we're gonna get into the joke in question that is apparently pissing off Puerto Ricans everywhere. We'll talk about the Puerto Ricans who are also defending him. But first, let's introduce you to Tony here.
I don't know about you guys, but I think that Travis Kelce might be the next O.J. Simpson. Feels good in here. The other side's got a lot of crazy endorsements. Swift, Eminem, Leo DiCaprio, Beyonce. Every day the Democratic Party looks more and more like a P. Diddy party. Oh. Oh, okay. Okay.
That it does.
Hey, that's what you guys want. All right. Heck yeah. It's a cool black guy with a thing on his head. What the hell is that? A lampshade? Look at this guy. Oh my goodness. Wow. I'm just kidding. That's one of my buddies. He had a Halloween party last night. We had fun. We carved watermelons together. It was awesome. You guys are... This is a groany little morning crowd, huh? It's tough to follow this audition for the next Commissioner Gordon's over here. It is, though. It's crazy times we're living in. I mean, all these pointless wars. It is unbelievable what's happening right now. It is incredible. Ukraine versus Russia, Israel, it's like bad soccer games. Who even cares? What are we doing? Why is our money involved in these wars? When it comes to Israel and Palestine, we're all thinking the same thing. Settle your stuff already. Best out of 3. Rock, paper, scissors. You know the Palestinians are going to throw rock every time. But you also know the Jews have a hard time throwing that paper. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so there you go. You kind of get a feel for his style of comedy. If you are not interested in that style of comedy, you know, some people just won't laugh. Others might be offended by it. Now, I'll be the first to admit, he's not my favorite style of comedian. I don't typically gravitate towards like the Kill Tony, Andrew Schulz type of vibe, but I'm not offended by it in any way, shape, or form. I actually love going to different comedy shows and listening to all the different types of comedians that show up, and so many people have so many different styles. And you know what I say, that the final frontier of free speech is within comedy. You have every right to make fun of anybody and everybody when you are a comedian or when you're telling a joke. Now, with that being said, Tony decided to tell a little bit of a joke about Puerto Rico that's now going viral, and Kamala's HQ and her whole campaign is clipping this joke and funneling it through the media to talk about just how racist Trump rallies are. Let's roll the joke.
It is absolutely wild times. It really, really is. And, you know, there's a lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay. All right. Okay. We're getting there.
Okay, and you kind of hear the crowd go, oh, you know, which whatever. If you're going to be a comedian and you're going and telling 100 jokes within a set, a few of them aren't going to land, some of them are, you'll be happy if you get some really big laughs, it's okay. He is that sort of style of comedian where most of the things he says are going to be pretty brash and offensive, and he'll sort of play on the crowd and see how they react. And maybe when they react like this, he's like, okay, well, I guess you weren't ready for that joke. We'll go in another direction. That's sort of his thing. Now, optically for the Trump campaign, would I have brought on a comedian to tell this style of joke if I was trying to be strategic? Probably not, because you know what the media is going to do. But on principle, I believe it's okay. Comedy is comedy. We should be able to tell jokes about anybody. If you can't handle the joke, or if you take the joke out of context, or if you're super sensitive about it, that's your problem. My only issue is they sort of weaponize the media against the Trump campaign and against these Trump rallies, and they'll pull that little 15-second clip of him telling the joke about Puerto Rico, and all of a sudden it's all over the place. And when taken out of the context of this being a very popular comedian who's doing a set, people sort of go crazy and say, I can't believe how racist these Trump rallies are, even though they haven't looked at the full set. They don't recognize that he's making fun of literally everybody throughout this full set, and it just sort of runs away from itself. Now, do I think this is going to impact the Trump campaign negatively all that much? Probably not. Tony's audience is predominantly male, which men are already voting for Trump anyways for the most part, especially if you're watching a comedian like him and you're a fan of his, you're most likely voting for Donald Trump, as he is the free speech candidate. He is sort of the candidate that is running with men's issues rather than Kamala Harris, who is constantly beating down men in any chance that she gets. So I'm not sure that he brought anybody in by being a part of this Trump rally, but if you're somebody who's offended by this joke about Puerto Ricans and you're saying Trump is a racist and we shouldn't vote for him because of what this comedian said, you probably already weren't voting for Trump anyways. So I feel like it's pretty net zero. His appearance didn't bring anybody in, it didn't take anybody away, but it's just something that now we're going to have to talk about, and it's yet another talking point that the left is going to weaponize against Donald Trump because of one thing said at a rally. Now, never mind the fact that the left has their own comedians that go to their rallies, and Kamala Harris actually had George Lopez at a rally of hers. Now, let's listen to what George Lopez has to say as a joke about Mexicans.
Donald Trump said he was going to build a wall, and George Lopez said, you better build it in one day, because if you leave that material out there overnight, Donald Trump.
Okay, so Tony makes a joke about Puerto Rico being an island that has trash all over it. George Lopez makes a joke about Mexicans being thieves. Which one's worse? Weigh those out, right? Weigh those out. Mexicans are stealing thieves, and Puerto Rico has a lot of trash on the island. I think one sounds a little bit more racist than the other, but I have common sense, and I'm reasonable, and I believe in free speech, and I enjoy comedy, and I understand that he doesn't actually believe that all Mexicans are thieves, and Tony doesn't actually believe that Puerto Rico is just an island full of garbage, and it puts you on the back foot as a comedian, because you get called out for a joke that suddenly people find offensive, and it's getting all this media attention, and then you kind of have to come out and explain the joke, and he's since come out and said, you know what, I'm a comedian, it's fair for me to say that. I vacation to Puerto Rico, all the time. I obviously love the island. The joke was just a joke. And it's kind of like when you get called a racist and you have to go, oh, I have a black friend. Or, my nephew's mixed and he's half Mexican. It's like, don't explain yourself to somebody after they've called you out with something totally unreasonable. It just makes you look dumb. And of course, the left is doing the same thing, but it gets no media attention when the left does it. When George Lopez goes to a Tim Walz rally and says, you know what, Mexicans are thieves, it's silence. Never mind the fact that we have plenty in the media to substantiate the joke that Tony made at the rally. Here we go. So the media is saying, oh, this Puerto Rican joke is so offensive. I can't believe he would speak about Puerto Ricans in this way. Puerto Ricans, you better remember this when you go to the ballot box. And then here's the media. Puerto Rico's trash problem. After Maria, Puerto Rico struggles under the weight of its own garbage. EPA sues Puerto Rico City over landfill overflow. Trash crisis leaves Puerto Rico near the brink. So it's almost like the basis of our jokes is maybe a little kernel of truth. And we take that kernel of truth and we make it into some hyperbolic statement to give to the crowd. And hopefully the crowd finds it funny. Some did, some didn't. And in any given set as a comedian, you're going to have jokes that land and you're going to have jokes that don't. The P. Diddy one certainly landed, where we funny haha about celebrities being pedophiles and sexual assaulters at parties and under the noses of everybody here in the United States. But the Puerto Rican trash joke, oh, that's too offensive. This should sway the votes of Puerto Ricans. Be so for real right now. Please.
It's hard to take the outrage seriously because it is so selective. And the fact that George Lopez's joke was arguably worse than Tony Hinchcliffe's, and yet there's no outrage about that, just shows how unseriously we should take them and how cynical it is to really zero in on this. But having said that, it is obviously like a bit of an unforced error on the part of the Trump campaign, or at least it seems so. You're not really going to add many people to your cause, or like at this stage in the campaign, you're really going after those undecided voters. You're going after the people who might not be part of your base but can be persuaded. And is trotting Tony Hinchcliffe out there to this big rally the best move? Maybe, maybe not. I can see also optically how this big packing out Madison Square Garden is supposed to be this giant win, and getting a mainstream comedy figure who writes for Comedy Central, who has a really successful podcast, putting him out there at center stage at the beginning can kind of help create this, hey, there's a lot of high profile people here. It's okay to vote for Trump. It's okay to be a part of this movement. It's broad. And so I sympathize with the risk that the Trump campaign took by bringing him out there. But I think this joke, unfortunately, just kind of created that opening for the left and for the media to kind of wedge themselves in and spin this whole narrative. And of course, they're going to weave that in with this whole Nazi rally narrative that they've been spinning as well. So I don't think it was necessarily a payoff, but I agree with you that at this stage in the campaign, no, I don't think this really moved anyone's vote in any kind of material way. But I did see an interesting tweet from Konstantin Kaizen, who said, all the people in full meltdown about Tony Hinchcliffe's jokes spent years telling you that there's no cancel culture and there's no problem with free speech in comedy. And so yet again, that the gaslighting continues, the selective outrage continues.
Yeah, it's crazy because we literally just did the story about Eminem going to the Kamala Harris rally, and he said that he's supporting Kamala Harris and Tim Walz because they're free speech candidates, and that's what he really cares about. And then this is what happens moments after a comedian goes on stage, which arguably is somebody who should be like the most protected by free speech, because by virtue of them being there, they're letting you know, like, hey, nothing that I'm saying is serious. Let's just test the waters a little bit. Moments after that, Kamala HQ calls out this comedian and tries to refer to the Trump campaign as being racist towards Puerto Ricans. It just blows your mind to see these things happen in quick succession from one another. And of course, there's Puerto Ricans who are out here defending Trump and defending the Trump rally. I'll show you a quick clip of that, just so we know there's reasonable people out there.
I've already had a few people tag me in the videos of the comedian today at the Trump rally insulting Puerto Rico, or what they felt like was an insult. As a Puerto Rican American myself, my dad grew up in Puerto Rico. I was not insulted by this in the very least. Number one, this guy is a comedian. Number two, the clip that they don't show you from right before that is him joking with Latino Americans about a bunch of stuff in our culture. And if you know anything about a Latino American or Hispanic American, we are our worst critics. We harass and make fun of each other. Or if you gave two shits about Puerto Rico or learned anything that's going on there, you would know that this guy's not talking about Puerto Rican people. He's talking about the island of Puerto Rico, which has a massive pollution problem.
Just Duh! I feel like HRH collection. Duh! You fucking tattletale rats! I need Alex Pierce on this episode. Girl, hit me up. I need that energy. Because it's just, every time I hear anything about a comedian getting canceled, I'm just like, I don't even need to hear the story right now. Okay, let's just roll the show. Let's start defending this person. Dave Chappelle with the trans jokes. Okay, let's talk about it, every single time without fail. And I would do it for a leftist comedian who told a joke that conservatives were offended by, but it doesn't happen. It literally doesn't happen because we understand what comedy is. And it's a typical thing for comedians to be at these rallies. At least it has been throughout American history. Reagan had Don Rickles at his rally. You saw Kamala and Tim Walz did their rally and had George Lopez present. It's okay, and sometimes the jokes don't land. That's the nature of being a comedian. Now, again, if I was a Trump strategist and I was working on his campaign, I'd be like, maybe we get a more lukewarm comedian out there who can tell some sort of crowd favorite jokes or whatever. But on principle, something deep within me is like, no, get the most offensive person ever. To just go out there and prove to people that it's okay. You're going to survive this. The only thing is the media runs with these things and they utilize this propaganda machine and they fuel it up against Donald Trump, all because he told the joke. Meanwhile, the whole media machine is crickets when it comes to P. Diddy and all these different celebrities who may or may not be involved in what's going on. But have you noticed recently that all these celebrities are coming out in full force support of Kamala Harris? We just saw J-Lo come out and endorse. We saw Bad Bunny come out and endorse. We saw Ricky Martin come out and endorse. Leonardo DiCaprio's come out and endorse. And I'll actually play Leo's little clip here so that you can hear his endorsement and see what Leonardo DiCaprio had to say.
Earlier this month, Hurricanes Helene and Milton devastated parts of Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina. Families lost homes, livelihoods, and loved ones to some of the strongest Atlantic hurricanes ever recorded. These storms have done an estimated $100 billion in damage, and make no mistake, these unnatural disasters were caused by climate change. Donald Trump continues to deny the facts. He continues to deny the science. He withdrew the United States from the Paris Climate Accords and rolled back critical environmental protections. Now he's promised the oil and gas industry that he'll get rid of any regulation they want in exchange for $1 billion donation. Climate change is killing the earth and ruining our economy. We need a bold step forward to save our economy, our planet, and ourselves. That's why I'm voting for Kamala Harris. She helped lead the most significant climate action in U.S. history, including passing the Inflation Reduction Act. Under her leadership, we set ambitious targets for achieving net zero emissions by 2050 and building a green economy that not only creates jobs, but also helps save our planet. So check your registration at iwillvote.com and join me in voting for Kamala Harris on November 5th, because we cannot afford to go backwards.
We cannot afford to go backwards, from Leonardo DiCaprio. Very, very interesting. I saw this joke. I had to share it immediately. This one says, he heard people saying Kamala 24 and he got a little confused. It's okay. Woo! I have to wonder, what's going on with Leo. Of course, we know that Leo is a little bit of a leftist and he's all about climate change, and he did all that work alongside Mark Ruffalo, and they're like the climate celebrities. This is the big issue of their time, apparently, as he jet sets around the world in his private jet. I believe Leonardo DiCaprio attended this whole LA eco-friendly fashion thing that they were doing. Meanwhile, in the 2 weeks leading up to that eco-friendly fashion show, he flew over 12,000 miles in his little private jet setting across the world to meet the other, we shouldn't even call them 24-year-olds. I think we can go a couple years down on the girls that Leonardo DiCaprio finds himself interested in. It's okay. It's only natural, okay? Men love young women, and Leonardo DiCaprio is very open about that. So he wants zero emissions, okay? He wants that net zero, but I don't know that he's going to be a contributor in any way, shape, or form to that. And I get it. The lifestyle of Leonardo DiCaprio is hard. If he tried to fly commercial, he'd probably need some security. He'd need to buy out the front of the plane so as to not be bothered. But how dedicated are you to this idea that climate change is impacting our world and is totally catastrophic if you are flying so often on your private jet. And I mean a lot of flights. He's not near Taylor Swift level, which we all know Taylor Swift is talking about how catastrophic climate change is, but she'll fly from like Central Florida to Miami to like get a Coke and then fly back. So I don't know that I believe Leonardo DiCaprio. You all know my theory about the Diddy celebrities. We've seen them just popping up one after the other to endorse Kamala Harris. Of course, Leonardo DiCaprio has been known to be a fan of those little Diddy white parties. He's even photographed hanging out with Diddy. Now, upon Diddy being arrested and all these different bits of information coming out about Diddy's activities and the sexual assault and the abuse and the battery and just everything that Diddy's been up to, Leonardo DiCaprio decided to distance himself from Diddy and essentially claim that he's no longer associated with P. Diddy. But I do have to wonder, what were you doing, Leo? We already know where you lie on the sexual spectrum of things, and you make it clear about every 4 years when your current girlfriend ages out of the system. But I want to know what your involvement was with Diddy and how much you might have known. Just a question. Allegedly, Leonardo DiCaprio hung out at Diddy white parties. Now, of course, we saw J-Lo show up in the Oprah Kamala, get out the vote event that they did. And J-Lo just showed up on her little Zoom screen and waved her hands. She didn't say anything during the event, which was really interesting. But now, over the weekend, J-Lo has come out and endorsed Kamala Harris with her full chest. Also, with her full chest, she dated P. Diddy, Sean Diddy Combs, for 2 years. 2 years! There's also allegedly photos of J-Lo and Jay-Z in a little freak-off tape at P. Diddy's place. How much did you know? If you dated a man for 2 years and all of his little scandalous, criminal happenings were happening after the party, if you wanted to be at a Diddy party, and as LeBron James says, there ain't no party like a Diddy party, you'd have to stay for the after party to really get into the criminal aspects of it all. Did you, J-Lo, in the 2 years that you dated this man? And how do you date somebody for 2 years and you have no idea that this is going on under your nose? I don't know. It's possible. It's possible. Allegedly. Put it out there.
I saw today, Ben Stiller tweeted out that he's supporting Kamala Harris, and somebody quote tweeted that with a picture of Ben and Diddy and was like, we know. And folks are coming out the woodwork. There's something a little sus going on, something in the water, perhaps, that are just causing them to come out and give their ringing endorsements for Kamala. But as you point out, we must say, allegedly.
We have to say allegedly. And that's the thing, because Diddy rubbed shoulders with so many people. Who's to know who was there for what actually happened? Who's to know who knew what was going down? It does seem like there was whispers all throughout Hollywood about Diddy's activity. And it's kind of like the Harvey Weinstein, although in comparison to Harvey Weinstein, Diddy has one-upped him on more than one occasion, perhaps on every occasion. It seemed to be the case that virtually everybody within Hollywood knew what Harvey Weinstein was up to, at the very least. Whether or not they were participants or accomplices in his activities is a whole nother question. But how many of you knew what was going on? And if you knew what was going on, or if you were present in places where you felt like you could be implicated, Kamala Harris, of course, would be the candidate to support, because she's the one who probably doesn't want this stuff to get out. And Trump has made it very clear what he intends to do if he becomes president, and that is to release the names. Now, since we're speaking of Diddy and celebrity endorsements, we got to talk about Beyonce. Queen B showed up and showed out at a Kamala Harris rally, and she decided to endorse. She came there alongside Kelly Rowland, who you all know, very famous singer, and her mother, Knowles. Now I'm going to show you a clip of Beyonce giving out this endorsement, and we had packed seats at this rally, because I guess some people were under the impression that Beyonce was going to perform. She didn't perform, so those packed seats, they left very quickly after Beyonce gave around a 4-minute speech in support of Kamala Harris. Let's watch.
H-Town. We are so happy to be standing here on this stage as proud country Texas women supporting and celebrating the one and only Vice President Kamala Harris. A woman who's been pushing for what this country really needs right now: unity. It's impossible not to feel the energy in this room, the positivity, the community, the humanity. We are at the precipice of an incredible shift, the brink of history. I'm not here as a celebrity. I'm not here as a politician. I'm here as a mother. A mother who cares deeply about the world my children and all of our children live in. A world where we have the freedom to control our bodies. A world where we're not divided. Our past, our present, our future merge to meet us here. Imagine our daughters growing up seeing what's possible with no ceilings, no limitations. Imagine our grandmothers. Imagine what they feel right now. Those who have lived to see this historic day. Even those who are no longer physically with us. Imagine all of their sacrifice. The sacrifices made so we can witness the strength of a woman.
Give me a break. Give me a break. Oh my God. You're not here as a celebrity, Beyonce. You're really not here as a celebrity, because I think the whole purpose of you being there is that you are one of the biggest celebrities to ever exist. In fact, this entire venue would not be packed if you were not there. In fact, the second Beyonce left and Kamala comes out and people recognize that, oh shit, she's not gonna play Single Ladies. They left. The crowd was booing when they realized that Beyonce was not coming out there to sing Crazy in Love or Love on Top. They left. So I think you are there as a celebrity. So let's just go ahead and get that out of the way. Now, a lot of people have been questioning, why exactly is Beyonce Knowles showing up to an event like this? And what exactly is the drive behind it? Of course, these celebrities are getting paid for it. I think Lizzo got like $2.7 million for showing up at Kamala Harris's rally to endorse her. Just imagine how many times we can times that up for somebody like Beyonce, and bringing out Beyonce's mom and bringing out Kelly Rowland. It's a lot of money. So the money alone for a 4-minute speech is probably enough to get her out there in Houston and to share these words of encouragement for Kamala Harris. We all know Beyonce has a history of support for Kamala Harris. She's allowed Kamala Harris to use her song Freedom in her rallies and as her walkout onto the stage, whereas when Donald Trump has tried to use Beyonce songs in the past, she has sent them cease and desist letters and told them to stop. You will be sued. You are not allowed to use my songs on the campaign. Now, I want to point out maybe another motivator that Beyonce might have for coming out and supporting Kamala Harris. It starts with a P and it ends with a Diddy. Okay? Because we all know that homeboy Jay-Z, who is Miss Knowles, or should I say Miss Carter's husband, was besties with Diddy. Look up Jay-Z, Diddy. They were like attached at the hip for a very long time throughout their careers. Now that attachment has been severed, and it's been severed by our knowledge of his criminality and all of this information coming forward about Diddy. But you have to ask yourself, what was Jay-Z's involvement in everything that Diddy had going on? Because when I say besties, I mean besties. I mean definitely hanging out at the after party allegedly. Don't sue me, Jay-Z, because, you know, they'll probably do more than sue me at this point. That's the question that I have. And if Jay-Z maybe knew what was going on, allegedly was besties with Diddy and really good friends, how much did you know, Beyonce? Also, just outside of Jay-Z's involvement with P. Diddy, should I bring up the name Foxy Brown, allegedly? Because if you look into that, didn't Jay-Z have a relationship with her when she was like 14 or 15 and he was in his 20s, allegedly? Didn't he do that? Just a quick Google search will clear that up for you. And I want to ask Beyonce, when did she get involved with Jay-Z? When exactly was it that y'all met, allegedly? And how did y'all's relationship begin, allegedly? And we could bring up other names of other very young female stars or women that never did really make it in the media space and in entertainment, allegedly, that had their involvement with these men. And I'm just wondering, how much did they know? And why is it convenient that you've come out to support Kamala Harris? I'm just wondering that. And of course, Kelly Rowland comes out as well and screams.
We are grabbing back the pen. We are grabbing back the pen. That pen to forge a new path with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. We are grabbing back the pen to write a new American story, a story of community, of equality, strength, of kindness, and of hope. When I was a little girl and I pledged allegiance to the United States of America, that meant something to me. That flag meant something to me. And today, that means grabbing that pen and casting my vote, as I already did 2 days ago, for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
And Kamala Harris will grab the pen to sign our pardon. I'm just kidding. It's jokes. It's jokes, guys. It's jokes. They probably don't know anything. They don't know. They have no idea what's going on. They're just a couple of the biggest stars in the world. One of them is married to Jay-Z, that has a history seemingly, allegedly littered with abuse and sexual assault, but they don't know anything. I'm just a baby. I don't know anything. I'm just a baby. I'm just Queen Bee. I don't know anything. I have no idea what's going on. Now, of course, Trump found out that Beyonce was at Kamala's rally. This is what he had to say about it. I thought this was funny.
Joe Biden is asleep. Kamala is at a dance party with Beyonce. Joe Biden.
At least it's a dance party and not a Diddy party. There are whispers that maybe Kamala Harris knows what a Diddy party looks like in the inside of the house, allegedly. But we've not yet had that confirmed. There's rumors about all the politicians as well, but I don't want to put that out there at this moment. We'll wait and see if this ever comes to light. We all know if Kamala Harris becomes president, it never comes to light. So we have that to go on. But my goodness, does the list just get longer and longer and longer? There's a video that exists on the internet that I urge you all to look up, and it's P. Diddy sitting next to one of his kids, I believe, and he's reading from a list, a piece of paper. He's reading off celebrity names. And you go and listen, and he's reading them with his kid, and they go back and forth and read them off. You go listen to that video and ask yourself how many of those celebrity names within the past month have come out and endorsed Kamala Harris. And when you start to put them on your fingers and you start to go above 5, and then you keep counting, it starts to make a lot of sense. It starts to feel a little interesting, a little suspicious as to how all of these people all of a sudden are coming out and endorsing her. Now, you might say this is a last-ditch effort on behalf of the Kamala Harris campaign. They're squeezing out all the juice they possibly can in the moments leading up to the final day when the votes are put in and we're starting to count them up, and they need every celebrity possible. But a lot of these celebrities have been hush for quite some time, and why is it that all of a sudden they're yapping? They speak Japanese, and they're all coming out to endorse Kamala Harris. Beyonce, too. Those are my questions. I know everybody loves Beyonce. The Beehive is going to come after me or whatever. Just ask yourself the question. And if you can ask yourself it honestly, you're going to find that there's at least things that we should probably look into. And if we really do follow this Diddy rabbit hole down to the very bottom, and we hold accountable all the celebrities, the politicians, the law enforcement professionals, the judges that we find along the way, you best believe Jay-Z is somebody who needs to be held accountable. And that's all I'll say. Maybe Beyonce had no idea what her husband has been up to throughout his entire history. Maybe he pulled the wool over her eyes as well, but maybe he didn't. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Beyonce endorsing Kamala Harris. Who cares? I think anybody who listens to Beyonce in the first place was already going to vote for Kamala Harris anyway. They do the same thing with her that they do with Obama. Oh, we need black people. So we'll bring out, we've got Oprah, we've got Obama, and we've got Beyonce. Let's just throw them all out there and see what sticks. And hopefully it doesn't work this time around. Just crazy, man. I mean, we all knew. I knew when they said, like, Kamala Harris can use her song that, okay, well, Beyonce's going to come out at one point or another. I thought maybe she might, like, play it safe and just be kind of subtle in her endorsement of Kamala Harris, and she wouldn't do, like, a full-fledged speech or performance or anything like that. But we got it from Queen Bee herself. And she claims it's because she's a mother. You know, she cares about children. Your husband sure cared about children as well, but in a very different way, in a way that would land him in the slammer, allegedly. Okay, but we'll talk about somebody who actually does care about children. It's Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly was on the Bill Maher show, and she came to talk. She came to talk her shit, okay, to Bill Maher, and she wasn't gonna let it slide. You know, Bill Maher has this thing where you go on his show, and shout out to Bill Maher. I admire him in a lot of ways. I have criticism for him in others, and hopefully it's helpful and healthy criticism. You can come on his show sometimes, and he'll sort of talk at you and claim that you're wrong and have the audience laugh at you, because that's the sort of built-in support you have as a late-night show host. Your audience is there to see you and to hear you and to laugh at you and support you. And he can sort of bulldoze his guests in more ways than one, with that being the built-in support that he has. Megyn Kelly did not allow it to happen. Now, she brought up children transitioning, which of course is a big issue, a massive issue, and people try to bring that issue down and say it's not so important. She was not going to let that slide. She actually left the audience stunned. Let's roll the clip.
Almost equally important, maybe as important, is what we're doing to our children with this trans insanity. I mean, this is almost my single issue. We are chopping off the healthy body parts of young children without 100%. We are doing that.
Well, we are definitely doing that.
Without any inquisition.
That's what it is. So
into
I don't know
what's
what
happening.
the oohing is about.
I don't either. Pay attention, because I'm about to give you a truth bomb. Kids who are suffering from bullying, or who have been sexually assaulted, or who are going through normal puberty and feel uncomfortable in their bodies, will say to their parents, I'm not sure, maybe I'm gender confused. They will send them into a psychiatrist or psychologist who are told by our organizations, the American Psychiatry Association, and all the others that run their licensing, you must affirm. Affirm is the only standard. And so the child gets told, you're right, you are secretly a boy, or vice versa. And the child gets put on puberty blockers, into cross-sex hormones, which sterilize a child and deprive the child of any chance of sexual pleasure for the rest of his or her life. We're talking about 9, 10, 11-year-olds who cannot give informed consent. Then they have body parts chopped off by a medical establishment and by parents who mean well but believe in these doctors, and they shouldn't. And when they inevitably get past the awkwardness of puberty or what have you, and they want to turn around and detransition, those who love bomb them on Reddit saying, come on in, the water's fine, abandon them. They are depressed. They have changed their bodies forever in a way that is irreversible. And we are all sitting back saying, it's a remote issue, as Kamala Harris said. It's not remote. It's the issue of our time, both with respect to children and women's rights.
Well, let's back up a little on that.
The scattered claps from the audience. You know, she said something that they didn't want to hear, that children are actually having their body parts lopped off, which is true. You can find several cases of girls undergoing double mastectomies, having their breasts removed, the puberty blockers being injected into kids, which stunts their development, and they claim pauses their puberty with no irreversible damage, although we have lots of research that points to the contrary, that it is harming them in many cases. You have the hormone replacement therapy that a lot of kids are undergoing, which can leave these kids completely infertile, sterilized, once this is all taken to its conclusion when it comes to medical transitioning. And there's so much harm done along the way in the psychological evaluations of these kids, the reinforcement of this blind affirmation that we take on when it comes to gender care, instead of asking other questions like, is this child dealing with something else that may lead to them experiencing this gender dysphoria? Is there an underlying issue that we can tackle that will make the gender dysphoria subside, so that we can go through this roller coaster that is early childhood development without completely ruining this child's mind and body body. And we're finding that a lot of trans kids who are pushed to us, through the media or who families are personally dealing with, go through this turbulent time. Some of them make it out without transitioning and realize, oh my gosh, I'm not gender dysphoric anymore. The more unfortunate of the groups ends up going through gender transition, either all the way through or, to some point in the middle or at the beginning. And then on the other end of it, decide, oh, I regret this. I'm not gender dysphoric. And the damage that they've received in the process of transitioning is oftentimes irreversible. You're hearing from kids now, like Chloe Cole, who's now an adult, but went through gender transition, has virtually no sensation in her private areas, no sexual gratification, a double mastectomy, that what are you going to do about that? And now Chloe Cole is trying to sort of rediscover femininity and is doing so in a really strong and powerful way and choosing to broadcast that to the world so they can see what's happening. And that's the story of detransitioners that we're hearing. Imagine all of those right now who are going through this that we are not hearing from. They are struggling in silence. They are trying to find community, and they're hopping online and finding these blind affirmation forums where people tell them that they're not actually trans, or they're dishonoring the trans community, or they shouldn't be spoken about when they're going through a real struggle. And when Megyn Kelly says this is going to be the issue of our time, I truly believe that decades from now, if we actually engage with unbiased research and look into these problems to the fullest extent, we are going to realize that we're actually committing medical crimes against children. And other countries have managed to make that realization. Sweden, Germany, France, the UK is currently in the throes of discovering that right now, shutting down gender clinics, being sued. These doctors are being sued for what they're putting these children through. And that's what's going to happen here. And it's children transitioning and regretting it. It's children being sterilized and regretting it. It is kids being taken away from family members because the family does not support their transition, being pushed through the medical system, and then what? Regretting it. It's some trans people not even being able to vocalize their regret because they have killed themselves along the way in this journey, a journey that they were wholly unready for, wholly uneducated for, because doctors are knowingly not giving them the full scope of information. I urge you guys to look into the Cass report, the WPATH files. There are now reports of doctors willingly holding back research that they've done within their own clinics because they've found out through the data that what they're doing is harmful. And because they are so subservient to their agenda and ideology, they are not allowing that research to be published. These people need to be jailed, to be honest. Not all of them. Some people are virtually unaware of what's going on, and they're just dedicated to this idea that they're doing something right for people and that they are allowing children to be themselves. And there's a special category for those. But others are knowingly misleading children down the path of literal sterilization. No sexual feeling or pleasure for the rest of their lives. An inability to accept themselves and accept their bodies, and getting a mutilated one on the other end of it. So I'm so glad that Megyn Kelly was able to say that on Bill Maher. And this is the moment that Bill Maher goes, yes, it is happening. And he actually corrects his audience for giving her that reaction. But mind you, Dennis Prager was on Bill Maher in 2019, I believe, and you can go and look up this clip. And Dennis tells Bill Maher that the left right now is pushing this propagandized narrative that men are able to menstruate. Bill Maher laughs in Dennis's face. He said he's never heard that. The entire panel laughs at Dennis. They call him crazy. The entire audience laughs at Dennis, calling him crazy. The left isn't saying that. And look where Bill Maher is now. So maybe we need to own up to the fact that for a long time, we pushed a narrative that actually led us to the point we're at now, where you have to defend to your own audience that something like this is happening. And maybe it's your own actions that led you there. And of course, we're all wrong at some point. I used to be a super radical leftist. I believed all these things. But maybe a little bit of accountability on the role that you played in allowing these ideas to take root. Just maybe. Okay. There is another clip of Megyn Kelly. We're going to keep going. We've got 2 more to go. Now, she talks about election denial because, of course, we have an election coming up, and denial seems to be a hot button topic here. This is what she has to say.
Well, don't think there won't be denialism if Kamala Harris loses, too.
It won't be the same.
Okay, but there's going to be. I mean, they're already laying the foundation for lawfare. We're going to be stuck in this election one way or the other, no matter who wins, for weeks.
Well, there's no evidence of that. Democrats have never done that. They've conceded.
We already had this fight on my show. Hillary Clinton is the original election denier. Stacey Abrams. Yes, she is.
It's different. Come on, man. It's different between grumbling. Yes, they grumble and they shouldn't, and maybe it goes over the. It's different between grumbling about something and actually trying to overturn it, like he did. I mean, you know this. Why do we have to go through this?
That's fine.
You know.
You're allowed to file legal challenges in response to an election, which is what Trump did, and he lost, and he did wind up leaving office. I'm not going to defend his behavior on January 6th. I never have, and I'm not going to start tonight. But if you don't think there's going to be denialism on the Dem side, you haven't been paying attention to what's been happening on that side for these years.
Okay. And I love that she's just like, I'm not going to let this go. Actually, no, what you just said is an absolute lie. And just in case, because she can't roll the clip. She can't say roll the clip on Bill Maher's show. Bill Maher has to say roll the clip. This is something that exists on X. You can go and look it up. It's on Libs of TikTok. This is actually a 24-minute clip. Of course, we're not going to go through 24 minutes of this. This is 24 minutes of Democrats denying the election. In case you needed proof with your own eyes.
You can run the best campaign. You can even become the nominee. And you can have the election stolen from you.
How can you win with Russian interference, though?
That's a real
what I'm
thing.
scared about in 2020.
But rightly.
Because I think he's an illegitimate president that didn't really win. So how do you fight against that in 2020?
You are absolutely right.
He is an illegitimate president in my mind.
Would you be my vice presidential candidate? Folks, look, I absolutely agree.
Trump didn't actually win the election in 2016. He lost the election. And he was put into office because the Russians interfered.
Russia interfered with our election, attacked our democracy for the sole purpose of artificially placing someone at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. They were successful.
Trump, do I need to go on? Do I need to go on? Who are the original election deniers? And it's so funny that these are like people working within the DNC that are denying the election, because the DNC, I guess the reason they would know, I guess, if election is rigged, because they're so willing to do it at any opportunity they get. We saw it with Hillary. Bernie was supposed to be the guy. Bernie was supposed to be the guy. What did the DNC do? They took him out and they pushed forward Hillary. Who was supposed to be the Democrats' guy this time? It certainly wasn't supposed to be Kamala Harris. But what did the Democrats do? They allowed Joe Biden and this entire administration to run with the lie that he was going to go on to be reelected and that he was going to run the race yet again, knowing damn well that man doesn't know his toes from his ass at the moment, and he was not going to run for reelection because they knew they just wanted to hand it over to Kamala Harris. And they couldn't do that if they had to run it through a primary. So here they are, like the people who are always so capable of moving things around when it comes to election time, denying that Trump actually won that election. And for Bill Maher to say they're not doing it, they're just complaining a little bit, and complaining a little bit is very different from what Trump did. Please. Can we get a little bit of reality here? And I don't know why he can't admit that. Has he not seen the clips? I mean, he's somebody who's been covering politics for I don't know how long. He should know that this is happening. We have one more clip with Megyn Kelly and Bill Maher, where she does it yet again.
These are the dictator countries. There's a very World War II feeling here when the dictator countries are getting together. I mean, in World War II, what did Hitler and the Japanese have in common? Nothing, except they saw the world one way. Fascism. They all have to do it in their different way. Iran is a fascist country in their own way. So is China. So is Russia. Saudi Arabia, you could say also. Somehow, the world seems to be dividing between the good guy countries, the democratic countries, and these autocracies. And if your guy gets in, we're going to be on the wrong side of this one.
Okay. If my guy gets in, I think we'll go back to the time that we had when he was president, which is the only time we didn't start a war and get involved in a war. Did Putin?
That's not true.
Did Putin?
Jimmy Carter never fired a shot.
Putin did not invade Ukraine until Biden took over. We had the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, which projected weakness through the world. People understood that we were enfeebled, and that is what was provocative. Weakness is provocative. I feel like Trump destabilized these people. They didn't know what to expect of him. Next thing you know, he's bombing Soleimani. Trump did strategic strikes that had people on their heels. They didn't know what he might do to them. And we did not have Putin invade
It's what he might
Ukraine.
do to us that I'm a little more worried. I feel like
We've had 4 years of Trump. We've had 4 years of Trump.
Yeah.
Trump did not go after his political enemies with the Department of Justice.
Right.
That was Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Well, we had Hitler in the 30s and things were okay, and then we had Hitler in the 40s and they got way worse. Just because we had him.
He hid his Hitlerism the first 4 years and is going to come out in full force.
He tried to do things like that. He tried to do dictatorial fascist things, and he was stopped.
Joe Biden has flouted the law when it comes to these student loan giveaway programs. He's flouted the law. Supreme Court opinions that told him he didn't have the right to do it, and he openly said, I will get around the Supreme Court. He did it with respect to rent abatement programs, the same exact thing. And then he and Kamala Harris unleashed this Department of Justice against their political enemy, Donald Trump, their #1 chief rival for the presidency.
Okay. Well, we'll
Is it
see.
funny? Because they did it.
We'll see.
You want to talk fascism? That's fascist.
I think history is not going to be kind to your point of view, but I appreciate you coming on and saying. Thank you, Megyn. All right, Megyn Kelly.
There's something so crazy about it. It's like I'm going to make a funny comparison, but it's kind of like watching the Hunger Games. Shout out to Suzanne Collins for writing just a piece of literature that is going to withstand the test of time always, because it is literally the world that we're living in. He is Caesar Flickerman, touting out these people to literally tell you this is what's going on, this is what you should be worried about, and laughing in their face as the audience does the same. And it's just so ridiculous to listen to as she's listing off valid examples of actual authoritarian actions from this current administration. And we can add more onto that. Kamala Harris, when she was debating as a Democratic presidential nominee, said that she was going to come after people's guns. Joe Biden at the time called her out and said, what you're asking for is actually unconstitutional. And she looked at him and said, Joe, why can't you just say, yes, we can? Meaning she's going to, surpass the Constitution and do what it is that she wants to do. She is the candidate who is going after hate speech and misinformation, whatever that means, because we all know that hate speech and misinformation just means attacking our political opponents and people with dissident opinions. Does that sound authoritarian to you? She's the one who's offered $20K forgivable loans to black men. She's going to apparently give out 1 million of these loans, forgivable loans. Okay, what is a forgivable loan? It means I'm giving you $20,000 as essentially a bribe. That's what it is. There's no such thing as a forgivable loan. By virtue of being a loan, it means it must be paid back. And the fact that she's exclusively giving that to black men, does that not sound like the most unconstitutional thing you've ever heard? Yet Donald Trump is the leader that we should all be worried about, the one that we've already lived through 4 years with, and we made it out to the other end without him doing virtually anything. How can we make this claim? It's just nuts to me. Not to mention, she mentions the lawfare against Donald Trump and the literal weaponization of our criminal justice system against political opponents. You can look at the people at January 6th who are still in jail or currently being jailed for things that they've done. That actor from Bob's Burgers who was there at January 6th, I think he just got over a year sentence in federal prison for his involvement in January 6th. Give me a break. Who is the person who's actually going to go after political dissidents? And of course, this opinion has taken root because of the media. And Bill Maher is a part of that media. And maybe he's so entrenched in the system that he actually believes what he's being force-fed through, I don't know, the universal memos that they're sending out every week for these talking heads and pundits to just throw out on air. He truly believes that Donald Trump is a fascist. Something here does not make sense. And you see these people rubbing elbows with Donald Trump when he goes to events. We watched at the Al Smith dinner as Chuck Schumer was sitting right next to him and they're, tapping each other and making jokes about one another. These people don't actually believe the things that they're saying. The camera comes on and it becomes theater. Now, in the case of Bill Maher, I don't know. I don't know what he truly thinks. But he says it at the end here, I don't think history is going to look kindly on your opinion. I don't think you're going to be on the right side of this. Let's give it time, baby. Because I'm quite sure that history is going to look kindly on everything that Megyn Kelly just said. And we're going to have another Dennis Prager moment from 2019 where he tried to tell you something, you laughed in his face, you weaponized the audience against him, and you've done it again in Megyn Kelly, and now we're just going to set the timer and wait for everything she says to be true. Now, it's either going to be true in that Trump becomes president and you live through another 4 years as Bill Maher and you kiki it up and laugh on your talk show and you have nothing to go off of because all of the baseless accusations you've made were exactly that, or you get 4 years under Kamala where you experience the very things that Megyn Kelly is warning you about, and you either own up to it, take a little bit of accountability, which he's not necessarily used to, and speak about it, or you have to cover your eyes like the rest of the media does and focus on other stories, although you won't have Donald Trump to beat like a piñata because he won't be around anymore. What are you going to do then, Bill? So I guess we'll wait and see who history looks kindly on, and we'll hope it's not too late for you to turn course and speak about where you were wrong. So just mark this on your calendars, guys. Mark this video, and we'll put another quarter in the Megyn Kelly is right jar. This is just nuts. And thanks to Megyn Kelly for holding her own, because there's an environment on these talk shows where you go on and you sort of feel like, oh, this overwhelming pressure, the whole audience is on this guy's side. He's the one who's steering the interview in a certain direction. And you might feel the need to not hold your ground or to just let the interview flow and let them sort of roll over you and talk over what it is that you're saying and invalidate your opinion without you getting a moment to say, wait, hold on a second. What you just said is incorrect. She did not allow that. And every moment that he tried to speak over her, she came back in and said, no. This is what I think. Here's why. She substantiated it. And she said, you know what? I'm going to leave you with that. And we'll see what happens. And that's the confidence of just knowing that you're telling the truth and knowing that you have the truth behind you in everything that you're referencing and everything that you're predicting. And again, we shall just wait and see. But shout out to Megyn.
Yeah, the most maddening thing about this Bill Maher cycle that we've seen with Dennis Prager on trans, we saw it with Barry Weiss on COVID. She went on his show and gave a great speech and proved him wrong in the same way. When it counts, Bill Maher is always wrong on the issue. And then 3 years later, when it doesn't matter anymore, when the stakes are lower, when his opinion isn't really needed, when his influence can't really change or move the needle, when the damage has already been done, now he's ready to come out and say, okay, yeah, we were wrong on trans. Okay, we were wrong on BLM. Okay, we were wrong on COVID. But, we all just thought this at the time. No, people like Megyn Kelly were telling you, people like Dennis Prager were telling you at the time. And then you guys were looking at us like we're crazy people for saying that this is authoritarianism, what's happening with vaccine mandates. This is butchering the genitals of children, and you guys are just blind to this, or it's willful blindness. And when it counts, when you had the opportunity to throw your hat in the ring and have the courage to step alongside people who are telling the truth, you mock them and laugh in their faces and tell them they're going to be on the wrong side of history. And then 3 years later, you prove your own point wrong by saying I was on the wrong side of history, except they never say that. They never say, oh, no, I was actually wrong about this. It's just kind of like enough time's gone by. Oh, well, we all thought this at the time. Oh, we weren't really sure. And meanwhile, all the damage has been done to the children who suffered under this transgender insanity. All the damage has been done through BLM riots and the things that you've excused. Damage has been done with the economic devastation, people's civil liberties during lockdowns and vaccine mandates and losing their jobs and all these types of things. And so congratulations. You can say nice things now. You can sound smug and right now, 3 years after the fact, but where were you when it mattered? And that is the perpetual frustration with Bill Maher. And he's very eloquent. He's very good at laying out some very powerful statements on issues, and his clips go viral all the time. And a lot of times they're great, they're good, and I want to share them, and we talk about them and say good on Bill Maher for this. But the problem is that this keeps happening, is that you're on the wrong side when it counts, and you move to the right side when the stakes aren't there anymore, when it doesn't matter.
Yeah, dude, I feel like I'm in the Truman Show, and we're going to get to your super chats right now, guys, but I really feel like, am I being punked right now? Like, tell me where the camera's at. Because what is going on? And you see this all the time. It's very similar. Saturday Night Live has like a very similar temperament to Bill Maher. It's like all of a sudden SNL is doing all these skits about how Biden is senile and he just wants ice cream and he doesn't know where he is at any moment. Wait a second. Like, where were you the past 4 years when we were all experiencing it and saying, look at what he's doing right there, and now you're making jokes about it. And then they're mixing in and making Kamala jokes, and it's just like, wait, wasn't she the running mate of the guy who was senile the whole time? And you guys didn't talk about it the whole time, but now you're comfortable making jokes about it. And like all of America's like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. What a real impression of Joe Biden. Well, wait a second. Because I was being called a fucking Looney Tune for saying that he has late stage dementia. And now it's all fun to make jokes about. Guys, I'm going crazy. It's like it's the slow drip. I'm literally going insane. I'm going to need a lobotomy by the end of all of this. I'm getting Truman Showed. I feel it. Let's get to your super chats.
And now Trump's unstable and he's too old to run and Kamala's the greatest thing ever. But 5 minutes ago, we have all of y'all on video saying that this candidate is not somebody we want to run. What are we going to do if Biden can't run? We have to keep propping him up and trying to get him out there like Weekend at Bernie's because we can't have Kamala run. But now all of a sudden, all these celebrities coming out the woodwork to endorse Kamala. The media's like, oh, she's the greatest thing ever. It's vibe. She's brat.
It's crazy.
We see. The gaslighting is thick. But if you just step back for 2 seconds, you're like, wait a second. Anyways, all right. I'm sure y'all want to weigh in on all this stuff. Oh, Amir Odom's in the chat. What's up, Amir?
Hi, Amir.
He says, love you.
Love you.
Amir went to the Beyonce rally. I saw some of y'all talking about that in the chat. And he saw the people leaving in droves after they were disappointed she did not actually perform. But I think he's got a video out about that if you want to check it out.
Yes, shout out Amir. Check out all of his videos and definitely subscribe to your boy.
Yeah. Frau Kanzerlin is our first super chatter today. She says, it's my birthday. I always celebrate by going to Six Flags. Do you guys like roller coasters?
No, I'm a stay on the ground girl. Okay, if I go to any theme park, I'm staying on the ground. Except if I go to like Universal and you can do those little Harry Potter rides where it's kind of like like simulation, but you're kind of like stuck in there. I'll do those rides, but no like real roller coaster. I'm not doing like the Hulk or the Velociraptor or whatever the hell those things are called.
Yeah, I figured. I didn't know what your answer to that question would be, but because of your airplane thing, I was like, okay, yeah, she's probably not a roller coaster person.
Yeah.
Just the heights or something.
No, nothing in me. I'm just not like that. Scary movies, roller coasters, flights, like anything that is like adrenal in nature, I'm not interested at all. Why do you want to feel like you're on the brink of death? That's the question.
I'll do roller coasters. I'm not like a junkie. I'm not like afraid of them, but I'll do them if I'm in the place, when in Rome, and I'll have fun with it. So my wife will not, though. She is terrified of anything with a drop. If it doesn't have a drop, she's okay. But she had a traumatic experience as a child with a drop and just can't do it. I'm always trying to push her to cognitive behavioral therapy. You can do this. You can get over this irrational fear.
No,
but we're not there yet.
Me and Nancy can stay on the ground together. We can go get a churro or something.
Here you go. Legitly Spelunking says, so the left is saying Trump rallies are racist when they weren't fans of the joke. Wouldn't that mean the rally goers aren't racist?
Well, I guess that's true. That means the rally goers are actually reaffirming the idea that they're not racist. They weren't fans of the joke either. It's just to have to sit and analyze it. It's just painstaking at this point. But here we are.
So dumb.
Here we are.
You're not even really making a real criticism. It's just cynical BS. So it's not even worth responding to or analyzing, but here we are. African Prince says, Dr. Offensive is the funniest in your chats.
Dr. Offensive. I've seen a few of his comments. He left the funniest comment the other day. Oh my gosh. And I don't remember what the comment was. I was cracking up at it, but sorry. It was in the regular chat. It's not a super chat.
Okay. I try to keep an eye on that, but there's a lot to do. Sometimes I'm looking stuff up to fact check. I'm trying to follow what Kamala's saying, trying to monitor the chat. So it's hard to catch everything, but we appreciate y'all dropping comedy bombs in there. Not Narc Alert says, did you see the AOC Walls panel up reacting to it?
I did. They were watching like Sunday football or something, and then also watching the rally.
No, they were playing Madden. Oh my gosh, it was such a disaster, dude.
Yikes.
Okay. I was hoping we would talk about this, but friggin' Tim Walz and AOC get on Twitch to stream Madden, which is a football video game on Sunday, which is a really, if you know nothing about football or men or Twitch, that sounds like a good idea, but actual guys who they're trying to reach are watching football on Sundays because the games are actually going on then. They're not playing Madden. So that's number one. And then he tweeted out with the caption AOC runs a mean pick six, which is not a play you can run. It's that's something crazy that happens in a game where a quarterback makes a mistake and throws it to the opposing team and they return it for 6 points, a touchdown. And he said AOC runs a mean pick six, but I've got something up my sleeve. It's weren't you a football coach? Don't you know what this is? But anyway, on that, they reacted to Tony and said, when you have some a-hole calling Puerto Rico floating garbage, no, that's what they think about you.
Oh my gosh.
And then
So
Tony,
lame.
I was going to read this earlier, but Tony responded and said, these people have no sense of humor. Wild that a vice presidential candidate would take time out of his busy schedule to analyze a joke taken out of context to make it seem racist. I love Puerto Rico and vacation there. I made fun of everyone. Watched the whole set. I'm a comedian, Tim. Might be time to change your tampon. So anyway, Tim Walz continues to just make a fool of himself, whether he's trotting out in hunting gear, like not able to handle his firearm, or trying to be Mr. Relatable Macho football guy who doesn't even know what football play is and is trying to appeal to men by playing a game on Sunday, a video game, while they're all watching actual football. So well done, guys.
Rip.
But yeah, thank you for pointing that out. Flowers After Hours says, one thing that made me decide to vote Donald Trump was the fact that people in North Carolina needed Kamala, but instead she went on a podcast. Ay, que mala. That's funny.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's been a lot of realizations along the way that people are making about this woman that are making them think, maybe she does not deserve my support, and that's most definitely one of them.
Indeed. Chaotic Good says, third chat drop, first time catching on the start. On my break at work, will listen to the ends without getting caught on my phone. Been binging all your vids.
Love it. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I'm glad that this is hopefully keeping you entertained while at work.
Nicodemus 1984 says, good evening. It seems that American media, like French media, are unsettled by any joke that doesn't align politically with politically correct thinking and quick to speak on behalf of the minorities involved.
Gosh, it's like so lame. It's like, why tell jokes anymore if you can't do stuff like that? And it's just like, you never know. How are you going to know if like something's funny or not if you're not able to test the waters and like try things out? And then maybe it doesn't land with one crowd and it lands with another, or it doesn't land at all, and that's okay, and you recalibrate. And I guess there's comedians who are like, okay, we should be able to make jokes about whatever we want, and we want to be super offensive, and that's like the Tonys and the Andrews of the world or whatever. And then there are comedians that sort of say the way that the audience reacts to your joke is a way for you to calibrate whether or not you've done something funny, and if the audience doesn't find it funny, then you need to move on to other things and maybe try to be less offensive. And there's like room for all of that, but you can't make the calculations if you're not allowed to test and see what happens. So it's just so lame.
Micah Kunkel says, Amala, thanks for reviewing my debate against Dean on Jubilee. Hopefully you review the 30 versus 30, but looking forward to your review of one Democrat versus 30 Republicans. We did that one, didn't we? Or is there another one coming up?
I guess there's another one. That'll be interesting to see. I did see the 30 versus 30, and I watched like the first 10, 15 minutes of it. It's a lot. It's 2 hours long. We're going to have to cut a couple prompts, but we'll probably react to it at some point this week.
Yeah, there's just so much going on right now with stories and stuff. It's like we got those, we got Jubilees, it's content madness.
It is.
Stay tuned. We might be popping up live. It's happened a couple times off schedule the last
Stick
couple
around,
weeks,
guys.
So keep your notifications on.
Yeah.
Lumpy Space Princess says, $2, eat it up. Whatever you do with it, it is you. I'm sorry. This is strange phrasing. Eat it up. Whatever you do with it is you are ruining YouTube for money and free speech.
Huh? I don't know what that means.
I don't know. Maybe they're complaining. Maybe like they.
Yeah. Is it a nice comment or a mean comment?
I don't know. Yeah, you are ruining YouTube for money and free speech. Anyway,
yes.
I'm not sure I
Yes,
understand if this is intended to be a nice thing or a mean thing. Space Princess, I'm so sorry.
Either way, I take it, and yes, I agree with everything that you just said. If I am ruining YouTube, it is for free speech. It is for the principle of free speech. So absolutely, I endorse, and I support this message.
Here. Yeah, and speaking of YouTube and free speech, how about we didn't get to this either, but they're like censoring the Joe Rogan episode on YouTube where he interviewed Trump. Like if you search for Trump Rogan interview, it does not show up in search results. It's only like clips and people reacting to it and stuff. So that's making the rounds right now on X.
I had no idea.
Interesting. John O'Rourke says this will be forgotten in 3 days and was cut and clipped by the left. His entire 10-minute set was hilarious. He has the largest comedy podcast on YouTube, which produces opportunities for new comics from all races and cultures. It's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, it's crazy that you even have to like defend his ability to do it. What if he was really just some racist white guy who told a racist joke? Okay, whatever. Like, who cares? It really doesn't matter. But we all know that that's not what he is. And yeah, I just searched Trump Rogan. It doesn't pop up. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
It's got like 30-something million views in like 36 hours or something.
Wow.
Wild. Jordan Marino says, although it's just comedy, it was severe oversight making a joke like that, calling Puerto Rico trash this close to the election, knowing Puerto Ricans are prideful. We're trying to win. Now is not the time for bad, edgy jokes.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and it's not the fault. It's not Tony's fault for necessarily making the joke. If we're looking at it from a strategy perspective, it's the campaign's fault for like bringing him on. Like, it'd make much more sense to like find a middle of the road comedian who maybe has some like fence sitting / Kamala supporting fans, and then bring them out to endorse Donald Trump. But like, I don't think Tony has that in his corner whatsoever. So optically, not a great choice.
Hannah Yen says, hi, Amal and Taylor. Been listening and watching since you were still with PragerU, and I always have found your take on things so refreshing.
Oh, thank you.
I appreciate having your and Taylor's views. Y'all are awesome.
That's so sweet. Thank you so much. And you're an OG. You've been around for quite some time. Thank you for the support for this long. That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Hannah. Gallant says, the Diddy associate witch hunt is giving Trump and Epstein, but you won't talk about that.
Is giving Trump and Epstein? What does that mean?
I guess he's saying like you're talking about Diddy and his celebrity associates, but you're not talking about Trump and Epstein, which we have talked about.
Oh, yeah. Go check our last episode where we talk about Diddy, where I literally lay out that if you look up pictures of Trump and Diddy, or if you look up pictures of Trump and Epstein, you will find pictures of both of them. And I literally say, I would like to know what Trump knows. I find it hard to believe that all of these people are around him and have no idea what's going on. And I've even heard from like, people who might have been, very far in the periphery of Epstein being like, yeah, people know he's a weird dude. So yeah, I would like to know. So don't worry. We'll discuss all of that.
And one major difference, though, or thing worth mentioning, is that Trump has said that he intends to release the Epstein files
as soon as he's president.
Like somebody with something to hide, unlike the people who are now coming out in droves to endorse Kamala.
Exactly. And Elon literally just did an interview with Trump, which we played this on our show as well, where he's like, people aren't supporting you because they know you're going to release the names. So there you go. And a lot of billionaires are pretty worried about it. So that should tell you everything you need to know.
Bill Maher says, hey, Amal, I was really surprised to hear that Eminem has endorsed Kamala, even though his new album criticizes the woke culture of today.
I know. It's just like his album is like, his album's good, like in its criticisms of woke culture and like all the isms and the phobics and all the things we're throwing around. And then it has some like missed points on Candace and Lucifer and stuff. So he like teeters on the edge of being like free thinking, but woke at the same time. And he clearly has Trump derangement syndrome. So he's just like, he's in the throes of something right now. Hopefully he figures it out.
Jade Dragon says, interesting how celebrities are flocking to Kamala's side, like the other side has something on them. Thinking emoji.
Yeah, I wonder. Could be, allegedly.
Makes you think, allegedly.
It does.
Let's see. Ash Roach says, girlfriend, please deep dive into the weather conspiracy. I know you said it's nuts, but there's some compelling evidence about weather manipulation.
Yeah, I've heard about like the cloud seeding and all this stuff. I don't know how much of a deep dive I'm going to do, and I'll look into it. How about that? I don't know if I'm going to do a whole deep dive episode on something I know virtually nothing about, and I think you'd have to have a pretty, at least strong grasp on weather to understand.
That sounds like something Joe Rogan needs to do a 3-hour podcast with someone on.
He'd be interested in that. He'd be willing to do a dive deep. Would definitely. Can somebody conjure a hurricane?
DJ M says, is that race/gender swapped Halosius O'Hare from the Lorax?
Halosius O'Hare?
Who's he talking about?
I know O'Hare Air. Is his name Halosius? I didn't know that. This is some lore that Halosius O'Hare.
Aloysius?
Halosius. And you must be talking about Kelly Rowland, because O'Hare looks like, okay, what the heck? I did not know that was his name. Okay. Kelly Rowland kind of does look like that in the big suit. I like a masculine, like gender bend outfit on women sometimes, but yeah, with the hair for sure.
A little rough.
Aloysius is his name. I didn't know that. Wow.
Trey Bannon says Kamala got lots of booze Friday once Beyonce bounced, and not like the kind of booze she likes either.
Whoa.
Wordplay.
That was pretty good. Yeah.
Drunk, why not?
I'm wondering like who is showing up to these rallies to boo her. Is it Trump supporters? Is it her own supporters that are like disappointed that Beyonce's not performing? I don't know what's going on there.
I've seen a couple that were definitely like Trump trolls.
Gotcha.
Whatever. But it is interesting. Like it's a little, it's in poor taste, whatever, but it is interesting to watch her like completely unable to address the situation with any like smoothness.
She just uses the same joke. Like you're looking for the smaller rally down the street. I've seen her use it at least 2 or 3 times now at different rallies.
Shocker, she goes back to a memorized line.
Yep. Every time.
Minnesota Nice says, hey there, A and Tay. Isn't it interesting that people like J-Lo, Jay-Z, Leo, Oprah, etc. haven't had to answer any questions about being seen with Diddy?
Not yet. And you have to wonder, are those questions going to ever be asked? You know, if I was like an interviewer, obviously I'd get fired. But if you were an interviewer these days, you would just ask them straight up, like, what do you feel about these Diddy allegations? And just see what they answer. It's not like you're accusing them of anything. Mm-hmm. But no, won't happen.
Get real uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Dalton says, have you seen Amir's video on the Kamala rally? Interesting stuff. P.S. When y'all run for POTUS and VP, I expect Celtic Blacksmith on your cabinet.
That's too funny. No, I haven't seen his full video, but I follow Amir on Instagram. So I was like literally watching his Instagram stories while he was at the rally and like documenting everything and talking about what he experienced. So I'm going to have to go see the full video too.
That was I actually had the thought before I saw his Instagram stuff. I'm like, I wonder, when I heard Beyonce was going to be at a rally, I'm like, I wonder if Amir's going to go to that.
Amir loves Beyonce. Mm-hmm.
Sure enough. Legitly Spelunking says the left will cite the 1% regret rate for surgeries, but the problem is these hormones are being given out like candy without follow-up, not reversible.
Yeah, and it's interesting because they're saying like in the longitudinal studies that we do have, I mean, the data in the report back is not promising, but a lot of these people do fall out of being able to report back or getting another evaluation down the line once they've gone through treatment.
BCM89 says transitioning minors will be spoken in the same terms as lobotomies one day.
I think so. I really do think so. It's very similar, the amount of detriment that brings on the body and on the mind. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Our cities or Arclides says, what are your thoughts on the Puerto Rican joke? Oh, maybe this came in early. We spent a good minute talking about it.
You got my thoughts. I'm sorry you had to send a super chat because I already answered that.
Nick Brown says, is Russia in the room with you right now?
Yeah, for real. Russian collusion. Every single time we bring it out. Oh my gosh. Not to mention all the things that we're doing in our own soil. We can forget Russia for a moment when it comes to election interference.
Yeah, there's another great clip we didn't get to of J.D. Vance calling out Jake Tapper to his face this weekend on the show about the Russian collusion hoax and saying, like, you personally peddled this, as did your network, as did all the mainstream media for years. And he was like, oh, we were just reporting on this FBI thing. And he was like, yeah, and it had no sources, and you still ran with it.
Dude.
It was J.D. Vance is just, he's so good at
I take back my doubt when it came to J.D. Vance. I really do. I'm sorry, J.D., because every single time I see you on the news, you're crushing it. You're crushing it. So my apologies on that one.
Alfredo Ortiz, Amala, you have yet to play a video of the Democrats denying the 2016 election. I'll believe you if you play me a 30-minute video of the Democrats denying the election. 24 minutes is not enough.
24 is simply not enough, guys. We need a few more minutes on there. I'm sure we could make that happen. I'm sure we could.
Yeah, there's definitely 4 more minutes of footage out there. Noelia Sanchez says, question, my coworker mentioned that when Trump was president, his tariffs on China affected the economy. What are the facts about that?
I don't know. I actually need to look into this because one of you asked me about this on a show a few weeks ago, and we keep hearing all these conversations about tariffs, which, mind you, I'm not an economist, nor am I well versed in the effects of all these things. But the claim keeps being made that across the board, you know, leftist economists and conservative economists believe that tariffs are no good for our nation, and it's going to lead to more inflation. So that's something that I need to look into and analyze, because that is a big part of his plan, at least as he says so far.
Yeah, I just listened to the Trump Rogan interview this past weekend, and he does explain some of his situations in which he used tariffs as leverage against like countries and people who wanted to do business with the U.S. but take their manufacturing outside the country and then import it. And he was like, unless you bring your factory and put it in the United States, we're going to charge you tariffs. And he even talked about Macron dealing with France and saying, we're going to put 100% tariff on French wine and stuff unless you do things more favorable to us. So I think Trump generally just uses it as he understands the power of tariffs in negotiation in specific instances. Clearly, if you have like a sweeping policy of tariffs across the board, yeah, that can be extremely detrimental economically. But if you're using it as leverage in specific negotiation situations with specific countries, as Trump did, I think he was quite effective in it. And I think that's more his philosophy with it. But I also agree, economics is a complicated subject. And I think we all probably could stand to learn more about it. And let's see. Kayla Jade says, imagine Kamala being taken seriously by Putin. You can't, can you? It's like the Dems don't even consider foreign relations.
Dude, I can't even imagine one room where she's taken seriously by anybody, or if she's seen by, like, intimidating by anybody. Even her own followers who, like, love her and want to vote for her, I don't think she intimidates them in any way, shape, or form, or she's capable of doing so. So that's just like, yeah, it's a tough thing to think about if she wins. Yikes. Very bad.
If you can't show up to a friendly conversation with Joe Rogan, who is like not even an interviewer, he said, I just want to talk to her, have a conversation. If you can't show up to that, like, why should Americans have any confidence that you can show up to negotiate
Taliban
on behalf of the
leaders and
U.S.
stuff.
against our hostile enemies?
Yeah. Crazy.
Tuana Border Jumper says, I'm totally in love with your content, and you're so lovely too. You get them, girl.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That's so sweet.
Chaotic Good. Oh, seeds. I made the whole live at work without needing to leave. Keep it up, you both.
Hey.
I've almost caught up on all your videos.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot of
videos.
videos. That's a lot of me talking. Oh my, I feel bad for you in that case. My gosh, nobody needs to listen to me for that long. Oh, that's awesome.
How many hours of you speaking on the internet is out there in the ether?
I don't even want to think about it.
Thousands
it's not.
At this point. Olga says, it's normal for kids to explore things out of curiosity, but they have to often lack a deep understanding of these subjects. At a young age, it's usually the adults who shape their world.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it's like, it's cool for kids to like experiment and try things out, but it doesn't need to be like this experiment is set in stone and this is what you will do because you mentioned you liked it one time when you were 4 years old. And you know, we have to like toe that line of like allowing kids to be free to a certain extent, but not allowing them to be like free in their delusions.
Yeah, and like this trans or this gender ideology stuff latches onto the natural curiosity and insecurity that young people feel while they're exploring different identities. And back in the day, it was like, maybe you're a jock, maybe you're a goth, maybe you're exploring these different things. I'm a prep today, or, you know, and that lasts a few months or a year or whatever, and you kind of grow out of it. The problem with this gender ideology is it sucks you into this entire worldview. There's this community that's really accepting on TikTok or Reddit, as Megyn Kelly was talking about, and it goes deeper than just those inclinations you might have to dress a different way or to kind of show up a different way. And it's all about your fundamental identity, your actual sex. And there's so much like ideology around your identity and fundamental beliefs about yourself that it latches onto and infects. And then you combine that with life-altering procedures, medical procedures. It's just a recipe for absolute disaster and insanity. And it stands to reason why the trans suicide rate is so high. They don't like to, they like to blame that on a lack of acceptance, but it might be on a lack of self-acceptance, a lack of congruence with reality that you're going to feel. But,
yeah.
Amir Odom says Amala is greater than Kamala.
Thanks, Amir. Love you. That's so nice. Yeah, no, what a twist in fate that this candidate just happens to match my name. Nobody has my name except for Doja Cat, and now we have Kamala. So interesting. Never thought I'd be here.
EC says Jamie Raskins has already planted the seed for challenging the election if Trump wins. Dems have challenged the election every time Republicans win for 20 years.
Yeah, I think like no matter what happens, there's going to be just like skepticism all across the board. I think what a fundamental problem that we're going to be dealing with for a very long time to come is just general lack of trust in our elections. And I mean, duh, like look at what's happening. I saw a video today of literally ballot boxes on fire. Somebody came and set the ballot boxes on fire, and there's just ballots being scooped out of them on fire. Whose votes were those? Are they going to recast those votes? How is there any way of knowing what was in those ballot boxes? even that alone, just like seeing one video like that sort of sows the seeds of mistrust in the system. And then you're like, okay, well, how am I supposed to know whether or not what I'm seeing is real or fake? And it almost feels like a concerted effort to have everybody feel that way.
Oh, totally. You had in Virginia, the Biden administration sued the state to put people who self-identified as non-citizens back on the voting rolls. In California, they made it illegal to ask someone for identification. And it's like, what would be the point of any of this?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, dear. Rohisa001 says, I don't get it. They're saying this is not a comedy club, but a serious event. But why is it okay when when her side got jokes and got Meg twerking on stage? Is that serious? Then?
Right, exactly. It's just such a, they're so inconsistent with their reasoning. It's because they're not really using reasoning. They just want to launch attack at any opportunity they can't, even if they're, throwing a stone in a glass house.
Reason says, I don't hear people talking about her $25K discount for first-time homebuyers being a disaster when homeowners are just going to combat that with raising the price of the home by $25K.
Yeah, I mean, could happen. Likely. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if she becomes president, how these policies play out. And I'm sure some things might work out, some might not. You just gave me something to think about with the housing, most definitely.
Yeah, I mean, that's more economics of supply and demand. When you interfere with that and artificially inflate the qualification of certain buyers, you're just, driving up prices in the market. And that's the exact same type of thing that created the housing bubble in the financial crisis back in 2008. Back then, it was subprime loans of lending to people who weren't qualified for it. And in this case, you're giving a lump sum of money to people who are otherwise less qualified to purchase the same amount of home. And yeah, they get a discount on the overall price of the house, but how are they going to make their monthly mortgage payments? Is that still going to work out just as well? So you're not only artificially inflating the price of the market, but you're also lending to people who are less likely to be able to pay it back, and just for the sake of a handout to get votes. So really cynical thing that I don't think is going to be a successful economic policy. Joy says, tonight I plan to give my left-leaning boyfriend a final 1-2 punch before he goes to vote this week. First, Amir's video debunking the lies about Trump, then Amala's video on all the lies Kamala tells.
And then you guys will go and cancel out each other's votes at the ballot box. I've been seeing TikToks of couples who cancel out each other's votes, and it's the boyfriend locking the girlfriend in the bathroom, or the girlfriend making sure the boyfriend's battery is dead or whatever. All of you guys are struggling out there. I think it's okay. I think it's beautiful that you've managed to be with somebody who you disagree with politically. It's just such a rarity these days, or at least it seems so.
Sydney Chestnut says, first time leaving a super chat, just wanting to hop in and say how happy and great it is to have your voice out there.
Thank you so much. And thank you for your first time super chat. We got to do a little bit of a chime for that one. I appreciate that greatly.
Yeah, thanks, Sydney. Lazarus Hand says, Democrats, fear-mongering and gaslighting.
Yep. Over and over and over and over endlessly. It's just nuts to just be spinning in the cycle of it all.
Josephine Strand says, yes, live, love you guys. Or as we say in Swedish, jag älskar Taylor, my Swedish brother, please try and say all that. All love to you.
She just had you say the N word in Swedish.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
That'd be so... too funny.
Let me know how my Swedish pronunciation is. It's really sad. I speak a couple foreign language because I grew up a missionary kid and stuff, but I went to Scandinavia and flying on planes, and people talk to me in those foreign languages, like in Norwegian or whatever, because I look like them. And it's so humiliating and disarming to be like, I literally don't understand. I'm sorry. I'm just a dumb American. I can't. But yeah, let me know how I did there, Josephine. Thank you. RCDs says, as a former leftist, what was the moment that changed your views on things?
Oh gosh, I have many a video on that. You're gonna have to check them out because it's not one moment. It's a compilation of many different forks in the road that I met along the way. Lots of things.
Mary McBride says, hey, Amala, I hope Trump does win. I was doing Uber rides yesterday. Oh, Lord, I met a guy who was blaming everything on Trump and saying Kamala does a good job.
That's the media working full force for you. That's what they've spun, and people really pick that stuff up and believe it. It's crazy.
Indeed. MD says, Amir in the house. How about Epinobi Odom 36? Sorry, Taylor.
Epinobi Odom 36. Black ticket.
Love it.
Yeah.
They got my vote.
Yeah.
That's a black woman I'd vote for.
Wow, we got woman, black, we've got gay. We've got
what argument would the left have against any of that? Barbara Boyden says, you see the MSNBC edits 1939 rally comparing with Trump's Madison Square Garden?
Oh my gosh, yes, I saw that. It was like, a Nazi rally was held here a long time ago or whatever. It's just, how are you allowed to do that? How are you allowed to be viewed as a reputable news source or even exist at all in the name of journalism and do that at the same time? Oh, yeah.
Bill Clinton's DNC was at Madison Square Garden in, I believe, 92. Jimmy Carter held a rally in Madison Square Garden, as did John Fitzgerald Kennedy. So the idea that having a rally at Madison Square Garden is a Nazi thing is so silly.
It's like
but they knew that. They know that.
Yeah. The pinnacle of all stardom is to like perform at Madison Square Garden. It's like the quintessential venue for anything at any given time ever. It's just crazy.
And it is a baller move to pack that venue out and have tens of thousands of people waiting outside as Trump did. I mean, I think optically that was good for the campaign. It's unfortunate that this Hinchcliffe scenario kind of is overshadowing that, but they were going to pick something to try to overshadow it anyway. The fact is it still happened. So whatever. Fudge the Pudge says, if you could choose anyone to run in the next presidential election for either side, who would that be?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. Honestly. I'd like to get through this. I was a fan of Vivek when he was running, and the things he had to say and how he held his ground was good. I don't know at this point. Somebody new and fresh that I haven't seen, maybe. Somebody not within this consistent system that we've found ourselves subjected to this entire time. It's just unbelievable that like our view of like who could possibly lead this country is like so limited to this small like puddle of people.
Okay, we've been talking about Hinchcliffe. There's been this troll in the chat, and it's just kind of funny, so I'm going to read it because I'm not offended by the joke.
Sure.
But I am going to ban them because they keep spamming.
What is
Trolls
it?
Puppeteer says, Amala and white man pick me sellout. I've never been called a pick me before.
A white man pick me sellout?
As in, I'm the white man pick me sellout. Or maybe you're the sellout.
I think I think they're saying I want white men to pick me, so I'm a sellout. Oh, here you don't even have to ban them. Here's a bit of news for you. A white man has already picked me, babe.
Oh.
So there we go. I don't need more white men to pick me. One has already done it, and I'm happy with the one that I have. You know, so there we go. So I'm a white man pick me sellout.
I was acting like a pick me by trying to make that about me.
Yeah. I guess Taylor's a white man who picked me too. I got two of them.
Go.
I got two of them.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, see, we don't mind.
Your trolling is welcome
jokes.
here. It literally just ups my engagement and gives this video to more people. So please spam as much as you can, guys.
Send us a super chat while you're at it.
I love being a white male pick me.
Timothy W. says, maybe not Kamala for president, but how about Charlie and Wemby? I think with them at the helm, world peace is finally possible and attainable.
Yeah, Charlie and Wemby. That would be the craziest administration you've ever seen in your life. Nothing's getting done on their watch. Not a single thing.
Kathleen Cruz just sends a super chat, no message. Thank you, Kathleen.
Thanks, Kathleen.
Carolina Marquez says, hey there, first time commenting here. I'm Portuguese living in Switzerland. So all this American politics is like a telenovela to me. And you are my main source. LOL, keep up the amazing work.
Hey, I love that we're at least keeping it entertaining. I guess, honestly, at the end of the day, I do think that's like the goal of American politics. They just want you to be entertained. It's like its own reality show, which is so crazy and so awful for so many reasons. But at least we're here to talk about it and entertain you guys with it.
Leitor the Enemies says, from a Brazilian perspective, it's sad to see how our left follows all the nonsense from the left there in the USA. I hope something changes soon.
Yep, I've heard from so many Brazilian people who like watch the show or who are just familiar with American politics, and it's just like trickle down economics. It's trickle down politics and ideas. It literally is.
Sad, yeah. And muito obrigado por assistir do Brasil e nossa amiga portuguesa, Carolina.
It's polyglot.
Shout out to my Portuguese speakers in the chat today. That's 2 back-to-back.
There you go.
Lazarus Hand says, it's crazy. All the Dems that I liked the most are now with Trump, RFK and Tulsi.
There you go. Maybe you liked him for a reason. You could see that underlying that label was some common sense.
This looks like some kanji, Japanese characters that I can't read, but says, shout out to Amala for being a real one. Little Niblas? I don't know what is that like a wordplay thing?
Little what? Sure.
Niblas?
Niblas. I don't know what that is.
I don't know. I'll take it. They're trying to get me to say something sounds like the N-word is what it felt like, but... Chicken Pork Adobo says, economics is complicated. That's why not everyone is a millionaire. If Trump or Kamala lose, will there be a riot and looting?
I don't know. I guess we'll have to just wait and see, guys. Hope not. Hope that there's no violence on the other end of this, but who knows? At this point, everything is happening all at once, all the time.
Kaylin Lugo just sends a super chat, no message. Thank you, Kaylin.
Thank you.
Timothy W. again says, cloud seeding definitely is possible to control weather. It's used in United Arab Emirates all the time for rain. The question is if our government is using it or not.
Yeah, I did hear about that. The cloud seeding thing seems to check out. And also, like, how powerful is it? Like, if you can seed rain, can you do, like, a legit hurricane? I don't know, guys. I don't know.
Oh, that would be crazy. Chaotic Good says, last one, sorry for typos, it autocorrected. And guess my words. I'm dedicated to watch all of your videos, and Taylor tried to say my name. King Zavarkid. I tried it. It looks cool. Right? It's like King's something. It's a kingly name. High Q says, Trump was talking about windmills and the killing of whales. I remember when liberals used to care about whales. What happened?
Wait. Who in the killing of whales? Say that beginning part again.
This was on the Joe Rogan interview as well. Apparently, windmills or some kind of like with wind energy, they send like vibrations into the oceans that mess with whales and like harm them or even kill them in some way.
That doesn't surprise me.
It sounds crazy, but I think it's actually like a real thing. And they were talking about that on the Rogan show, of course. That's
fascinating. I need to look into that.
Yeah.
Of course, Joe Rogan would know that.
You have enough issues with windmills of like killing birds and the heavy metals that get into soil and they go bad and you have to replace them. They get manufactured with slave labor in China, all this stuff. So, we're not big wind. Also, it's an eyesore. Heaven Lee says, grateful our generation isn't going by past generation mottos.
Grateful that our generation isn't going by past generation mottos? In reference to?
I'm trying to think of a past generation motto.
Sorry, guys. Sometimes you send super chats and it's about like an old story and I don't remember what it was in reference to. But I'm going to think on that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, drop your favorite antiquated motto in the chat. I'm trying to think of some. Timothy W says, now the liberals are the whales.
Now the liberals are the whales?
I'm not following.
Stop following either.
Wind turbines
I don't know.
In the ocean. You guys need to give us a little more to work on.
I know. I like the cryptic super chats though. It does get my brain working.
Heavenly says, it is what it is. That's one of the
It is what it
mottos,
is. Sometimes you don't think it be like that, but it do. Okay.
Sarai Morales says, my cousins found out that I voted for Trump, and today, after the Puerto Rico joke, they kept saying how, as a woman and Hispanic, I could vote for him.
Oh my gosh. Give me a break, guys. Give me a break, cousins. It's just you have a million reasons. You don't have to go through it, but if you want to go through it, you got it. You can handle yourself, I presume.
Hannah Classy says, my first super chat ever is to request that you add a Kamala cackle sound effect. I'm the same age as you, Amala, and enjoy your content. Love you.
Thank you for your first time super chat. That is a great idea. I should add that. Or I should be like, you think you fell out of a coconut tree? Unburdened by what has been.
It's a great idea, a horrible idea.
Yeah,
it could get old really fast.
Might get overused. Knowing me, I'll click on that cackle anytime I get the opportunity. But that is a good idea. I should work on that. Is that our final super chat?
It is. I think we're caught up.
Okay, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. Drop your thoughts on everything we covered on today's show in the comments down below. How do you feel about Tony Hinchcliffe, is that how you say his name? Hinchcliffe. And his joke at the Trump rally at Madison Square Garden. How do you feel about Leonardo DiCaprio, J-Lo, Billy Eichner endorsing Kamala Harris, Beyonce, Kelly Rowland? How do you feel about that? And let me know down below. If you disagree with anything I said in this video, duke it out in the comments down below, but do so respectfully. We encourage healthy debate on the channel. But if you are a troll and you want to spam me in the comments, make sure you do it in the form of super chats, babes, and I'll read them out loud for that sweet, sweet money. If you really want to troll me, show some dedication. Guys, thank you so much. If you like this video, like, subscribe. Click the notification bell to be notified every single time we're live this Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Universal. Plus, we post videos for you guys every single day. Tomorrow, I'm making a video about this not Trump supporter, but a leftist who made a TikTok about what other leftists need to do if Trump becomes president. It is delusional. It is doomsday preparation type video, and it's such a hot take. It's one of the craziest things I've heard in quite some time, so I felt the need to bring it to you. We have one more super chat from Sophia Miller, who says, why does the media only showcase 2 candidates? Where's my girl Jill? Where's Jill at? She ain't getting no airtime. Yeah, no, I think it's going to take a while to change the political landscape if you want more than 2 candidates to get some airtime. But, you know, I'm here for it. Maybe we need some revolutionary change in this country. Don't clip that, Media Matters, and call me an insurrectionist. Guys, thank you so much for watching the show. I will see you guys tomorrow. Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. Bye, guys.